The road stretches endlessly ahead, curving into the distance and framed by rolling hills that seem to stretch to the sky. A thick carpet of grass blankets the ground, dotted with wildflowers in shades of purple, yellow, and white, and tall, ancient oak trees line the edges, their branches swaying lazily in the breeze. The air is thick with the scent of fresh earth and pine, mingling with the faint fragrance of blooming flowers. Birds sing from the treetops, their cheerful songs echoing through the air, while the soft rustling of the wind whispers through the leaves. A distant stream babbles merrily, adding a tranquil soundtrack to the scene. Max the golden retriever lies motionless on the roadside, his once glossy fur now ruffled and dirty from the fall. A few bloodstains mar his coat, evidence of the pain he's endured. His eyes flicker open, just for a moment, and he meets Ethan's gaze. Ethan's heart skips a beat at the sight of his dog's pain, but he doesn't falter. The boy gently lowers his hand to Max's head, stroking his fur with a tenderness that speaks of the bond they share. His voice is soft, barely above a whisper. "Come on, Max, stay with me, buddy. I'm right here." The sunlight streams through the branches of the trees above, casting dappled shadows across the road, turning the scene into something almost magical. The golden light bathes Ethan and Max in a warm glow, the world around them seeming to slow down, as if nature itself is standing still, waiting for the outcome of this fragile moment. Time seems suspended, as though the entire world is holding its breath, and every element of the landscape, the hills, the trees, the birds, the wind, has converged to witness this boy's unwavering love and dedication to his companion. Ethan uncaps the water bottle and tilts it gently toward Max's mouth, coaxing him to drink. The dog's lips tremble, and for a moment it seems as though Max may not have the strength to take in the water, but then, slowly, a small gulp, then another. Ethan smiles faintly, his heart swelling with hope. "Good boy," he whispers, his voice full of relief. The warmth of the sunlight seems to intensify, as though the world itself is giving Max a little extra energy to keep fighting. The world around them seems to pause in this moment of connection. A boy and his dog, alone in the quiet stillness of nature, bound by love, and an unspoken promise to stand by each other, no matter the challenges ahead. The light continues to stream down, bathing them both in its golden glow, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the uncertainty of what lies ahead. The cozy backyard is bathed in the warm hues of dusk, the sky transitioning from soft oranges and pinks to deep purples as the sun sinks below the horizon. The air is crisp, carrying the fresh scent of grass and the earthy aroma of soil. The last traces of sunlight linger, casting a golden glow over the backyard, while a soft breeze rustles the leaves of the nearby trees. A small garden, overflowing with vibrant flowers and shrubs, lines the edges of the yard, creating a natural border that offers both beauty and privacy. In the center of this peaceful scene, Ethan sits on a soft patch of grass beside Max, the golden retriever now healthy and full of energy. His once sagging body has transformed into a playful, bouncy dog, tail wagging vigorously. Max looks up at Ethan with bright, trusting eyes, his fur gleaming in the fading light. The dog rolls over onto his back, paws flailing playfully in the air, inviting Ethan to scratch his belly. Ethan grins, his face alight with happiness as he leans down to give Max the attention he craves. The bond between the two is evident in every playful gesture, every laugh shared. Scattered around them are a few toys, a squeaky ball, a half-chewed bone, and a frisbee, evidence of the fun they've been having. The ground is a little messy with the remnants of their games, but it's a kind of disorder that speaks to the joy of the moment, a carefree afternoon that has stretched into evening. In the background, the small wooden shed sits, bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun. In the far distance, you can see a monitor for Bisley City. It's a familiar sight, with a few gardening tools leaning against it, and a tangle of vines creeping up its weathered walls. The shed seems to add to the charm of the space, a reminder of the many memories made here. As the sky deepens into twilight, Lily enters the scene. She's 13 years old, with fiery red hair pulled back into a ponytail that bounces with each step she takes. Her face is lit with excitement, and she's wearing a bright yellow sweater that contrasts cheerfully with the softening evening light, along with a pair of jeans and sneakers. She carries a flashlight in one hand and a small notebook in the other, her curiosity as fiery as her hair. "Hey, you two," Lily calls out, her voice carrying through the air with a sense of adventure. She kneels down beside Ethan and Max, the flashlight casting a small beam of light onto the grass. Ethan looks up, his eyes lighting up at the sight of his best friend. "Hey, Lily," he replies with a grin. "Max is in full play mode tonight." Lily laughs, crouching down to ruffle Max's fur. "I can see that. He's back to being his goofy self, huh?" she says, giving the dog an affectionate scratch behind the ears. Max rolls over, playfully pawing at her as if to say, "More, please." Ethan and Lily laugh together, the sound echoing into the night. Lily opens her notebook, flipping through the pages as she looks for something, and then glances up at Ethan. "So, you still up for our stargazing experiment tonight? I figured we could start charting the constellations." Ethan nods eagerly, his eyes shining with excitement. "Definitely! Max can keep us company while we do it." Max barks excitedly at the mention of his name, as if agreeing to the plan. The yard is quiet except for the soft sounds of nature. Chirping crickets, the rustling of leaves, and the occasional distant hoot of an owl. The stars begin to twinkle faintly in the sky as the light from the setting sun fades further, leaving behind a canopy of stars. The fireflies begin to emerge, their tiny lights flashing intermittently in the growing darkness. Lily clicks on the flashlight, shining it gently on her notebook as she opens it to a new page. "All right," she says with a spark of enthusiasm. "Let's see if we can find Orion tonight." She points the flashlight toward the sky, using it to trace a path to the stars, while Ethan follows her gaze. Max, content and playful, lies at their feet, his head resting on the ground as he looks up at the two friends. His tail thumps lazily against the grass as he watches them with love and loyalty in his eyes. The scene is one of quiet joy, the perfect blend of childhood wonder, friendship, and the simple beauty of nature. The world feels peaceful and safe in this small corner of the world, where time moves slowly, and the only things that matter are the stars above, the games played beneath them, and the bond shared between a boy, his dog, and his best friend. The evening air is thick with tension, as Mr. Grayson stands in the shadow of the tall looming trees outside Ethan's home. The fading light of dusk casts long, ominous shadows, heightening the sense of unease that hangs in the air. His silhouette is stark against the dimming sky, his sharp jawline and piercing gray eyes seemingly carved from stone. The dark trench coat he wears billows in the wind, its heavy fabric rippling like a dark cloud, and his wide-brimmed hat casts a shadow over his face, obscuring his expression. Despite the obscurity, the cold, calculated menace in his stance is unmistakable. Mr. Grayson stands rigid, his posture tense, as he points a gloved finger toward the small shed at the far edge of the yard. The movement is deliberate, slow, as though he's marking a target, his gaze never leaving the shed. His lips are drawn tight in an almost imperceptible sneer, as if he's fully aware of the impact his presence is having on the household. There's an air of authority about him, an unspoken power that seems to radiate from his every movement. The wind picks up slightly, causing the edges of his coat to flutter menacingly in the growing darkness. Inside the house, Ethan's heart races as he crouches low, peeking cautiously through the window that overlooks the backyard. His face is a mixture of fear and determination, the shadow of Mr. Grayson casting a dark pall over the boy's expression. Ethan's breath hitches in his throat as he tries to remain as still as possible, his green eyes wide with alarm as he watches the man in the yard. The weight of the situation presses down on him, his mind racing with questions and fears, but there's also a spark of resolve behind his gaze. He knows that whatever is happening, He can't afford to show weakness. By his side, Max growls softly, a deep, throaty sound that vibrates through the air. His fur stands on end, his ears perked, and his body is coiled with tension, ready to defend Ethan at a moment's notice. The dog's protective instincts are heightened, sensing the danger that looms just outside. His growl deepens, reverberating through the room. His eyes locked onto the figure of Mr. Grayson. Max is loyal, fierce, and unflinching, and though the situation is tense, he stands as a silent guardian by Ethan's side. Ethan's fingers grip the windowsill, the wood creaking slightly under the pressure. He watches Mr. Grayson carefully, knowing that something sinister is afoot. The man's pointing gesture seems deliberate, a signal for something, or someone. Ethan's mind races with possibilities, but he knows that whatever Mr. Grayson wants, it's not good. The boy steels himself, fighting the growing anxiety that threatens to overwhelm him. He knows he must protect himself, Max, and his family, but the uncertainty of what Mr. Grayson plans to do makes the air feel suffocating. Outside, the evening has grown darker, the stars barely visible through the veil of clouds gathering overhead. The only light now is the faint glow from the windows of the house, casting long shadows across the yard. The shed looms ominously in the distance, its doors slightly ajar, as if it too is a part of this eerie scene. Mr. Grayson's finger points at it with unyielding intent, as though he's demanding action, forcing a choice. Ethan's breath catches as he feels the weight of the moment, the pressure mounting as time seems to slow. His pulse pounds in his ears, his thoughts a jumbled mess of uncertainty and fear. He glances down at Max, the dog's steady growl echoing the protective instincts that Ethan himself feels. In that moment, Ethan knows he has to act, but the uncertainty of how to face Mr. Grayson, a man who clearly exudes danger, gnaws at him. Max takes a step forward, his body tense, and for a brief moment Ethan is filled with a sense of solidarity. Together they will face whatever comes next. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation, the night holding its breath as if waiting for the inevitable confrontation to unfold. Every second seems drawn out, every heartbeat louder than the last, and Ethan knows that whatever choice he makes next will define the course of what's to come. The tension crackles in the air, the threat of danger ever present, and the quiet stillness of the yard is punctuated only by Max's growls and the distant rustling of the wind. Ethan's hand tightens around the windowsill, his resolve growing stronger. He's not going to let Mr. Grayson have the upper hand. He will fight for his home, for his family, and for the safety of everything he holds dear. The forest clearing is shrouded in a dense ethereal mist that rolls in thick tendrils, obscuring the path behind and making the trees stand like dark towering sentinels. The air is cool and damp, with the soft scent of moss, wet earth, and pine filling the atmosphere. The faint rustle of the leaves in the breeze is the only sound, and the soft light filtering through the trees casts everything in a dreamlike glow. The mist seems to swirl gently around the clearing, almost as if it's alive, wrapping the space in a quiet, intimate hush. In the center of the clearing stands Ethan, his face streaked with tears, his eyes red and swollen from crying. His arms are tightly wrapped around Max, the golden retriever, holding him close as if he could somehow shield him from the inevitable. Max's fur, once gleaming with health and vitality, is now matted from their long journey, his body weary but still full of love and loyalty. The dog's eyes meet Ethan's with the same trust and devotion, his tail wagging weakly as he licks the boy's face, offering comfort despite his own pain. Ethan presses his cheek against Max's fur, feeling the warmth of the dog's body. And for a brief moment, he can almost forget the heartbreaking decision that has brought them to this moment. The mist curls around them, adding a layer of solemnity to the scene, as if nature itself is mourning with them. Ethan's sobs are soft, but they echo through the clearing, a silent testament to the pain of saying goodbye to the one being who has stood by him through everything. Max, ever loyal, nuzzles his face gently against Ethan's cheek, as if trying to soothe him, to let him know that he's okay. Ethan can bear to let go. Nearby, the Parker family watches, their faces filled with a mixture of sympathy and understanding. Mr. and Mrs. Parker, a kind couple in their mid-30s, stand together with their young daughter Mia. Mr. Parker is tall, with kind eyes and a reassuring presence, while Mrs. Parker has a gentle, warm expression, her hand resting softly on Mia's shoulder. They both stand quietly, their eyes filled with emotion as they observe the tender farewell between Ethan and Max, their hearts aching for the boy who is losing his best friend. Mia, the youngest of the group, stands a few steps ahead, her small face tilted upward with big blue eyes full of innocence and empathy. Her short blonde hair frames her face, and she wears a pink jacket that stands out against the muted colors of the forest. Her boots are scuffed from the journey, and she shifts nervously from one foot to the other, unable to look away from Ethan's tearful goodbye. She clutches a stuffed animal to her chest, the only source of comfort she can offer in this moment. The soft, glowing light that filters through the mist seems to focus on the group, highlighting the emotional weight of the scene. It bathes Ethan's tear-streaked face in a gentle, golden hue, accentuating the raw emotion and the deep, unspoken love between him and Max. The glow touches the Parkers as well, illuminating their faces, their sorrowful expressions revealing the deep empathy they feel for Ethan in this moment of loss. The scene is quiet, save for the occasional sniffle from Ethan and the low, contented sigh of Max, who lies against Ethan's chest, knowing that this moment, this goodbye, is inevitable. It's as if the world has paused in reverence to their bond. The trees stand still, the mist wraps everything in a soft embrace, and even the wind seems to hold its breath as if respecting the sacredness of this parting. Ethan slowly pulls away from Max, his hands lingering on the dog's fur, reluctant to let go. His fingers tremble as he strokes Max's head one last time, the sorrow in his eyes almost unbearable. "I'll never forget you, Max," he whispers, his voice thick with grief. "You've always been there for me. You're my best friend. I love you." Max's eyes soften, and he lets out a low whine, nuzzling Ethan's hand with the last of his strength, a silent affirmation that the love between them will never fade, no matter the distance. Ethan takes a shaky breath and turns to face the Parkers, his eyes red and puffy, his expression a mixture of sadness and gratitude. He knows that they're offering him a chance at peace, a way forward in a world that has suddenly felt much emptier. Mia steps forward hesitantly, her blue eyes wide and filled with compassion. She places a small, gentle hand on Ethan's arm, offering him silent comfort. Her words are quiet but filled with sincerity. "I'm really sorry, Ethan," she says softly, her voice full of understanding. "He was a good dog." Ethan smiles weakly through his tears, appreciating the young girl's kindness. He nods, his heart heavy with the knowledge that life must go on, but part of him will always carry Max with him. As they begin to turn away from the clearing, the mist swirls around them, the soft glow of the light following them as if the forest itself is offering them a way forward. Though the pain of the moment lingers, the love shared between Ethan, Max, and the Parkers will endure, carried in memories, in the quiet moments, and in the hearts of those who understand the power of true companionship and the painful beauty of letting go. The backyard is bathed in the golden warmth of a perfect afternoon, the sky a brilliant blue with not a cloud in sight, and the sun casting a soft, radiant glow over the entire scene. The grass beneath Ethan's feet is lush and green, dotted with patches of sunlight that filter through the trees, creating playful shadows on the ground. The air is fresh and crisp, filled with the earthy scent of the garden and the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers that line the edges of the yard. Ethan is laughing joyfully, his face lit up with happiness as he stands in the middle of the yard, holding a small, brightly colored ball in his hand. His eyes are full of excitement and energy, his green eyes sparkling with pure delight. In front of him is Hope, a small fluffy puppy with soft golden fur, her ears floppy and her tail wagging excitedly. She bounces on her tiny paws, her eyes locked on the ball in Ethan's hand, ready to play. Ethan winds up and tosses the ball with a grin, watching as Hope races after it with surprising speed for her tiny frame, her short legs moving in a blur. "Go, Hope, go!" Ethan cheers, his voice full of encouragement, as the puppy zooms across the yard, her fluffy coat gleaming in the sunlight. Hope's determination is evident as she charges after the ball, her tail wagging furiously in excitement. She pounces on it and picks it up with her small mouth, her little body wriggling with triumph as she trots back toward Ethan, her tongue hanging out in pure joy. "Good girl," Ethan praises as she reaches him, dropping the ball at his feet and looking up at him with bright, adoring eyes. He bends down to pet her, giving her soft, affectionate strokes on her head as she wags her tail happily, her puppy energy infectious. From the porch, Ethan's parents watch fondly, sitting together on the wooden steps. They exchange a quiet smile, their eyes full of warmth and pride as they take in the sight of their son and his new puppy. Ethan's mom, with her gentle demeanor, rests her hand on her husband's shoulder, while he watches with a contented expression, his arms crossed casually as he enjoys the scene. They are both happy to see their son so full of life again, and the joy on Ethan's face as he plays with Hope fills them with gratitude and peace. In the background, just beyond the edge of the yard, Max is seen with the Parkers. The golden retriever's fur gleams in the sunlight, his tail wagging happily as he trots around with Mia, who is now older and holding a frisbee. Max's eyes sparkle with the same playful energy he once shared with Ethan, and his presence brings a sense of continuity, a reminder of the strong bond that still exists between them, even after all they've been through. The Parkers, standing together, watch with smiles, their presence a reminder of the support and friendship that surrounds Ethan. Mia laughs as Max jumps playfully, trying to catch the frisbee, his joyful bark ringing out across the yard. The entire scene is filled with warmth, the golden light of the sun adding to the sense of joy and renewal. It's as if the world itself is basking in the happiness of the moment, and every detail, the soft rustling of the leaves, the cheerful barks of Max and Hope, the laughter of Ethan and Mia, is perfectly in harmony. The air is light, and everything feels vibrant, full of promise, and brimming with the simple joys of life. Ethan picks up the ball again, and Hope barks excitedly, her tiny paws already shifting in anticipation. "Ready?" Ethan asks, his voice filled with excitement as he holds the ball high. Hope jumps up, trying to catch it with her little paws, her eyes fixed on the ball. Ethan throws it again, and Hope races off after it with the same boundless energy, her fluffy tail streaming behind her as she pounces on the ball once more. Laughter rings out as the game continues, with Ethan and Hope circling the yard in a joyous dance of play. The sound of Max's bark, the soft rustle of the trees, and the warm laughter of Ethan and his family fill the air, creating a perfect snapshot of happiness. The golden sunlight spills over everything, casting a warm, soft glow that seems to promise that the future is bright, full of new beginnings and new adventures to come. In this moment, the world feels simple, pure, and full of love, and the bonds that have been forged through hardship and time remain unbreakable, creating a foundation for hope and happiness that will carry them all forward. As Ethan watches Hope happily chase the ball, a sense of peace settles over him, knowing that despite the hardships, life continues to move forward with joy and new beginnings. With Max's joyful bark echoing in the distance, Ethan realizes that the love he shares with his pets will always be a part of him, a bond that transcends time and loss.